Hey everyone, it's Aaron Williams. Before this video starts, I just want to let you all know, this video is meant for fun, okay? I'm just having fun. I'm aware I'm probably not going to sound like the narrators. I'm just having fun, okay? Plus, I'm going to try and stay a little focused on the energy, because that's one of the important things, stay focused on the energy part of those narrators. But I'm gonna do my best, have fun with it, so please don't be all harsh in the comments. Oh, you don't sound like him. Oh, you suck. None of that. Be nice and enjoy the video.
Thomas is a tank engine who lives at the big station on the island of Sodor. He's a cheeky little engine with 6 small wheels, a short stumpy funnel, a short stumpy boiler, and a short stumpy dome. Thomas likes whistling rudely at him. "Wake up, lazy bones, why don't you work hard like me?" He fussed into the station where Gordon was waiting. "Hurry up, you," said Gordon. "Hurry yourself," replied Thomas. "You watch me, little Edward, as I rush through with the express. That will be a splendid sight for you. Goodbye, little Edward, look out for me this afternoon." "I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it," puffed Gordon. "I will do it, I will do it, I will do it," puffed Edward. "Hello, Gordon. Is it tomorrow?" asked James. Gordon didn't answer. He just let off steam feebly. "Did you lose your way, Gordon?" said James. "No, it was lost for me. I was switched off the main line and onto the loop. I had to go all round and back again." We've broken away! Chase him! Bump him! Throw him off the rails!" "Phew!" remarked Thomas. "What a funny smell." "Can you smell a smell? I can't smell a smell," said Annie. "A funny, musty sort of smell," said Thomas. "No one noticed it till you did," grunted Gordon. "It must be yours." Not long ago, he had fallen into a dirty ditch. Thomas enjoyed teasing him about it. "Annie, Clarabelle, do you know what I think it is? It's ditch water." One morning, Thomas was being cleaned when Gordon arrived. Mud had blown all over his smart blue paint. "Hello, Gordon," called Thomas. "You look as if you had a mud bath. Be a sensible engine, have a shower instead." Gordon snorted. "I haven't time to dwell over my appearances like fussy tank engines do." "Dirty cars from dirty sidings. Yuck!" "Edward is impossible," he grumbled to the others. "He clangs about like a lot of old iron, and he is so slow he makes us wait." Thomas and Percy were indignant. "Old iron? Slow? Why, Edward could beat you in a race any day." "Really?" said James. "I should like to see him do it." "A fine piece of work," he said. "James, you can rest and then take your train." "I'm proud of you, Edward. You shall go to the works and have your worn parts mended." "Oh, thank you, sir," said Edward. "It'll be lovely not to clank." Later that morning, George was at the level crossing. "Huh, you're Sir Handel, I suppose." Sir Handel was standing no nonsense. "And you, I suppose, are George?" "Yes, I've heard of you." "And I've heard of you. You swank around with your steamroller wheels, pretending you're as good as me." "Actually, I'm better. Goodbye." "Remember, Thomas," called Gordon grandly. "United we stand, together we fall. You help me, and I'll help you." "I'll remember," replied Thomas, "but I hope Sir Topham Hatt forgives us soon." Thomas the Tank Engine was feeling bright and cheerful. It was a splendid day. "Good morning," he whistled to some cows, but the cows didn't reply. "Never mind," said Thomas. "They're busy with their breakfast." Next he saw Bertie. "Hello, Bertie. Care for a race today?" But all Bertie could say was, "Ouch! That's another hole in the road." "I'm sorry, Bertie," smiled Thomas. "Look at me. I am the smartest, most useful engine on the line." "Rubbish," said Thomas. "We're all useful. The Fat Controller said so, and he's Sir Topham Hatt, head of the whole railway." "You know what, James?" huffed Percy. "What?" replied James. "You're getting all puffed up." "I'm the pride of the line."
"I saw you pulling trucks. You're only a goods engine," snorted Gordon.
"Everyone knows that tenders are a mark of distinction, but I'm afraid that no amount of tenders will save you in the end. We diesels are taking over, and we don't need tenders to make us important, not even one. What's the matter, Henry? There's no rain today. Stop worrying and do some work instead. I am not afraid of getting wet anymore, huffed Henry. Anyway, you look silly enough to be a clown. You should join the circus. Oh, whistled Percy. So you've heard the news. What news? About the circus. Percy, what are you talking about? These ships can't be kept waiting. They have important cargo. If they miss the tides, they'll be delayed in the docks. You should look up to ships and show more respect. You are, after all, only little. We've got too much work, huffed Percy. Then perhaps a lorry should do your job. Percy was shocked. If you can't push trucks properly, Henry, why not talk to a tree instead? You know how much you love the forest. Pah! Huffed James. If I came upon a tree, I'd just push it aside. Make way for an important engine. Yikes! Help, save me. A quick-thinking shunter did. What was that? Exclaimed James. Quite so, Mr. Oliver. May I suggest you speak to the Fat Controller about your problems? Well, one thing's for sure, said Gordon. He won't choose Dirty Percy. Don't call me Dirty Percy, he chuffed crossly, and he wheezed away. I hope no one needs pushing up Gordon's L. Wherever I go, there are diesel engines, chuffed Thomas. Thomas puffed backwards and forwards across the island. He wanted to stay away from Diesel, Harry, and Bert. Then there was trouble. Oh no, groaned Thomas. I'm back at the dairy, right where I started. Phew, you really are the stinkiest steam engine on Sodor, Thomas, he oiled. Thomas has brought the stinky cheese, cheered the dock workers. Well done, Thomas, said the Fat Controller. Sodor cheese is famous for being really stinky, and this is the most stinky Sodor cheese I have ever smelled. You are a really useful engine. Thank you, sir, said Thomas. It had been raining hard for weeks. Toby was feeling miserable. Everywhere was wet, wet, wet. His branch line runs through a village. The water in the river had risen with the rain. Only the Great Wall, known as the dam, was stopping the water from overflowing. Percy arrived just as Toby was about to inspect the dam for any damage. Driver tells me it may be dangerous up there. Please be careful, Toby, said Percy. I'll try, replied Toby bravely. Percy watched anxiously as Toby trundled away. You useless little bugs, he called from above. If you put these freight cars on the inside line, then I wouldn't have so far to travel. Rubbish, said Thomas. No crane has ever complained before. Well, I'm complaining now. Sir Topham Hatt was most upset. Thomas and Percy, this new crane has an important job to do. I've heard you've not been helping him today. You will go to your shed to consider how you will improve yourselves tomorrow. Now Thomas and Percy were upset too. George was now enjoying himself. Ripping up rails, he chortled. What a life! What do you think of this, Thomas? Thomas took no notice. George felt insulted. You're a useless blue puffball! But Thomas didn't hear. I'll show him who's boss! Duncan was delighted with Peter Sam's dilemma. Fancy not securing your freight cars on the hills. They'll come back to spook you in your special funnel. Woo! What are gremlins? Asked Percy. I've heard that the little green men who play tricks, replied Thomas. Can we find one? Pah! Said James. Gremlins don't exist. They're just an excuse when things go wrong. If Firelighter says that they're gremlins, there are. Huh! Snorted James. Sir Topham hadn't heard everything. Silence! He said. Well, after today's event, I think I'll rename him Gremlin. Sir Topham Hatt chuckled. In that case, I've met one at last. Ha ha ha. Excuse me, sir, but who's your very important visitor? Why didn't I tell you? This lady is my mother, and she agrees with me. You are indeed really useful engines, and my mother, of course, is always right. Ha 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 ha! What a boring view! Important engines like me should have a panoramic view, where I could see people and people could see me! Watch out, Gordon wheezed. You'll get my paint all sooty. Pulling freight cars is a sooty job, T-Salty, but then you wouldn't know. Of course not, Gordon huffed importantly. Express engines don't pull freight cars. It wouldn't be dignified. Dingified? Puzzled Percy. What's that? Dignified, Gordon corrected. It means that someone's too big for his buffers, T-Salty. Pah, said Gordon, and he puffed away. My whistle's clogged. He tried to blow hard to clear it out, but instead blew mud all over Gordon. Silly, huffed Gordon. Percy was trying not to laugh. Keep your dirt away from me. I'm collecting the mayor today. I should do that. Really? Chuckled James. You'd need a wash down first. Pah! Snorted Gordon. James just laughed. Later, Diesel was being careless. Not like that, snapped Fergus. Do it right. Down in the fear, sneered Diesel. You don't know the rules, shouted Fergus. Is there a problem, Mr. Oliver? Yeah, there is! Woo! Well, that could have been a little smoother. When Thomas arrived at the quarry, he had a really nasty surprise. Oh, it's you, oiled Diesel. What are you doing here? I'm here to help Mavis, puffed Thomas proudly. Steamies can't help, not like a Diesel. That's not true, said Thomas crossly. I have to hurry, puffed Thomas. He heaved, he huffed, and he puffed and he heaved so hard. The coupling broke. Thomas shot forward. Cocoa powder flew everywhere. Now I'll never get to take the children, puffed Thomas. James tried to pull away, but his troublesome trucks didn't want to be clean anymore. How back! How back! They chuckled. Just then, Cranky's cable snapped. He dropped a large crate of melons. Bother! Huffed James. James, tooted Thomas. I think freight cars like to be useful rather than clean. And all the trucks agreed. Thomas and James were racing to the wharf. Whoever arrives first will be given a special. I'm gonna win, tooted Thomas. No, I will, whistled James. And on they raced. Faster than the wind, and more daring than darting arrows. Thomas was now halfway across the bridge. The sound of the falling rocks was louder and louder. The bridge had started to shudder and shake. Thomas didn't like it at all, but he wanted to get to the other side. Then Thomas heard a mighty crack. Part of the bridge in front came away from the rocks. The town of Grey Waterton is to be restored in time for Sodor Day. The restoration will be a lot of work. Percy was puzzled. What's restoration? He wished quietly. Restoration, groaned Gordon loudly. That is when you make something very old look new again. The slope was very steep. Thomas wheezed down it and clattered around the bend. Up Thomas whooshed and down he wheezed. Whee! Thomas whistled and whoa! He cried. It was very scary, but it was very exciting. Thomas had almost caught up to the freight car. You won't get away from me, he whistled happily. Sir, we have to find Thomas, peeped Percy. He found Grey Waterton. It's his town. We can't have the opening without him. All the engines agreed. You're quite right, Percy, boomed Sir Topham Hatt. We must find Thomas. Thomas smiled. He had wanted to be leader of the track. But we're all leaders of the track, puffed Thomas proudly. and he couldn't have felt happier.